Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, Secretary Ada, and good afternoon to your team. Uh, Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the members of this committee. We'll start off with my far right. We have Representative Richard Lizama, the chair for PUTC. To his left is Representative Denita Yanktamay, the chair for Commerce, Tourism, and Cannabis. I am Donald Manglona, the chair for Ways and Means, and to my left, joining me up here is Vice Chair Rep. Karina Magosnia. To my immediate left is Representative Selena Babalta, the chair for JGO. To her left is Representative Christina Sablan, the chair for Health and Welfare. And then to my far left is Representative Leila Staffler, the chair for Health and Welfare. Before we proceed, members, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? Motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This agenda is hereby adopted. We now move on to public comments. If there's anyone in the gallery that would like to make comments today. If there's none, we move on to the next item, which is the opening statement. Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon again, Secretary, and to your team. Today we will be discussing the proposed budget for what was submitted for the general fund, as well as the additional funding from ARPA to cover the 20% shortfall, as well as the furloughed employees who were furloughed last fiscal year, in order to continue to employ the personnel. And so with that, we are here today to hear out the Department of Public Works and to address any concerns that were not met in the department's proposal, and to see how we can assist and to just get updates as to some of the ongoing projects that members have concerns about or would like to seek more clarification on. And so with that, again, thank you for coming. And at this time, I would like to invite the Secretary and his team to come join us in the chamber. Before we proceed, we do have the presence of acting SA for OMB. She stepped out for a minute, but to take a call, but she is here to assist the department as well as the committee with any questions we may have in regards to the budget submission. And so at this time, Secretary, if you would like to give any remarks and introduce your team, you're more than welcome to. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of this committee. It is an honor again and privilege to be present this afternoon for this budget hearing. I'm here with a number of my division directors, and some are acting, the fact that some are off island. And we are ready to answer any question or any project updates that the members would like to ask. But once again, on behalf of the department and my management team, and also the support staff that are working closely with our finance team in regards to the budget preparation, I want to extend again our appreciation for the time and efforts to entertain us this afternoon. And once again, good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. I guess we'll just go straight into it. Before we move further, I just wanted to ask if you've had the opportunity to review the the proposal, and if you had, are there any concerns that you may have caught upon reviewing the proposal?
We did, Mr. Chairman, yesterday and today, and um, I just have to live with whatever the means of it. But I understand that there's going to be a revised budget to be submitted before July. I don't know if I stand to be corrected.
Yes. Okay. So in regards to, upon looking at the department's requests and what the governor had proposed with both the general fund and the ARPA, one of the divisions, building and safety code, it looks like there's an overage of 117,000. Um, based on what you had requested of a 721,000, and what was proposed was just the 839,000. Is the 721,000 still something that the agency would need, as opposed to the 800?
We're fine with that, Chairman.
The department request of
Yes.
Ms. Nadia, do you know what the reason was for the overage? In addition to what was the solid waste of the additional 610,000?
Sorry. Chairman, can you repeat your question? Sorry. You were asking what's the variance? So the governor's proposal is higher than what the department requested.
Yes.
As I mentioned earlier, Tinian and Rhoda solid waste was not included in the submission. It was received after we submitted our proposal, the governor's proposal, on April 1st. So what was submitted on behalf of the department reflects the additional positions under solid waste and the hazardous pay as well. I don't believe it was requested for, included in the request, but we budgeted for it for FY23.
And for the building and safety code?
Yes. For the building and safety code, I believe it factors in their salary increase. They
Right.
didn't, none of their staff received increases in the current year. They were the only exception.
Okay. And then just for the record, Ms. Nadia, the FTEs under the solid waste is also for Rhoda and Tinian personnel.
Correct.
And I know this was discussed off record, but the hazardous pay for solid waste employees is up to date.
Yes. Just pending the routing of the documents from Rhoda, but so far up to Tinian, Saipan, Tinian, Rhoda have all been paid up until the first quarter of 2022.
And their hazardous pay is also budgeted for next fiscal year.
Yes.
Thank you. Before I proceed, I'd like to open the floor to any of the members. I recognize Rep. Sablon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Secretary Adda and your whole team. Thank you for being here. My first question is a follow-up from our discussion at last year's budget hearing. You had mentioned the need to recruit a building safety, well, some technical staff for your building safety division, including a structural engineer. And could you give us some updates? It doesn't appear, unless I'm reading this wrong, that there is a proposal to add new staff. Have you been able to recruit the technical staff that you need?
Good afternoon, Representative Sablon. DPW has made efforts in trying to recruit as far as the building safety official. We have announced it several times, but unfortunately, we could not. We didn't receive any qualified applicants from Office of Personnel Management, but we are trying our best to recruit. For this fiscal year, we were able to recruit. We were able to announce a highway engineer one under federal highway, which is 100% funded, and we just recently got an eligible list. And I know that we've been also advertising for chief highway engineer, but we haven't gotten any luck on that. We were able to hire 2 architects, and one is on the process to hire a CAD technician, I believe, an AutoCAD technician. So to help us, we're trying our efforts. Unfortunately, the challenges we face is it's in regards to salary. What I've heard from several architectural firms, even in Guam. They've been trying also to recruit professionals or engineers, and their minimum salary that they're trying to recruit is like 120,000. But even in Guam, as compared to Saipan, they're having a hard time just trying to recruit engineers. And we also recruited from funding from OPD through the 56 million for solid waste. We were able to recruit an environmental engineer that recently got on board. So at least that'll help us on our solid waste end. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. And then my next question is for the DPW Energy Division. Just in light of the significant increase in the cost of fuel and utilities costs, and of course the government pays the highest rates of all the ratepayers, is there any movement to do energy audits of the government? And sure.
Can you repeat, please?
For DPW Energy, are we looking to conduct any energy audits of the government buildings in particular, to see if there are ways that we can reduce these costs?
Right now, we are depending on the building codes for the home audits. We do have energy auditor that goes out to do home audits.
And that's for the weatherization program?
The government agencies,
Oh,
do
no.
you guys have plans to audit government agencies' usage? So at this time, maybe.
No, not.
No, okay. That might be helpful. And then just on that note, so again, like our last discussion, we talked about the streetlight fund, and I'm curious how was DPW streetlight bill paid in this last fiscal year? Or I guess in this, how's it being paid now?
It's paid through the ARPA
Just
funding.
through ARPA?
Yes.
Okay. And
All the government agencies are combined with the streetlight. Even we send it up to finance, and they're the one processing all the payments.
okay. Thank you. And then for this upcoming fiscal year, that will also be covered by ARPA?
I'm pretty sure it is because we don't have any budget for traffic. Streetlights yet.
Okay. Thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rep. Sablon. Floor is open. I recognize Rep. Bazama.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome, to the chamber, ladies and gentlemen, Secretary of Public Works. You told us about asking you about the any updates of the projects. It's been a year already, maybe more, and I do follow up. I still haven't seen any of those projects proceed. What is it, because of the engineering that you're lacking right now, the engineers you're lacking right now, or anyone like that? Can you explain to us what is the reason?
Congressman Soma, which project are you talking about?
Let's
I
start-
have our engineers on our
Okay.
staff here that
Let's
can.
start with the beach road.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us here. Project updates in terms from the federal highway side. Beach Road hasn't been announced through bid. We're waiting for our territorial transportation plan to be, I believe this week will be closed. But we did have that thing bidded out. And so we did secure the funding through federal highway. So you can see, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys are monitoring Route 36, which is Talapofu Road. That's ongoing. There is a progress in that is 45%. Henry, please correct. 40%. And Quartermaster, if you can see there, we are installing the traffic signal light. The middle road traffic light where Garapan Central Park, if you notice, there are cones. So that traffic light signal light is going to go up. And our design for Monte Pochao is complete. The engineers are now working on the drainage and ponding basin. And so all of these projects are funded by through federal highway. Our Highwaymaster Plan, 20 years. We're on the final stages to finalize the 20-year master plan. We increased it from 10 years to 20 years so that we'll be able to have our projects. 10 years is too short over time to get major projects, especially construction and engineering. So that's at least on federal highway side. I can speak on behalf.
Well, thank you. At least you give us an update, but I heard that again last year when you briefed us about what grade you were in the project, how much percentage was done. We switch over to the local, the street light, the pathway street light at Kagman. We talk about, I called someone there and says it would be executed in November. We're now in May. Can you explain that to us, please?
Right. Good afternoon, Congressman. In response to your question regarding the Kagman pathway lightings, the contractor that won the bid is Saipan Construction in the amount of 119,680, and the contract is on routing right now. Yeah.
Do you know when can we proceed? Almost Christmas.
Okay. Once the contract is signed, probably it's gonna take about maybe 3 weeks, 3 weeks
Thank
to
you.
4
Thank
weeks. That's the
I'm ready.
time for the contract processing. So we're looking at the NTP by June, early maybe second week or first week of June.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information. I give it back.
Okay, so in addition to some of the local projects, I want to also give the status of the industrial drive. This one is also bid out. R&B, got the project in the amount of 1.3 million, and the contract is also routing. So we're working with the CPA for this project. So they want to have the groundbreaking probably by end of June.
Thank you again.
I just want to add in also about the hazard mitigation that we just signed last week in regards to the Kagman intersection by Mobile. See those roads that's depressed. So we signed that contract already with the hazard mitigation.
Thank you, Secretary, and thank you, Rep. Nizama. Ms. Nadia, I got 2 reports here, but if I can just ask you one question, what would be the remaining or the running balance for DPW's ARPA accounts?
The bottom line is running balance as of date, 1.219853.26.
Okay, so that's $1,200,000. And so the understanding with OMB is that any remaining balance from this this fiscal year's ARPA could be used to help fund next fiscal year. But it looks like based on the department's request and what was proposed, and, the department is short 2.8 million, and that's just for next fiscal year. But the running balance currently, the 1.2, has yet to fund the remaining of the fiscal year. So with that, how would DPW or how would the administration cover the shortage for next fiscal year?
Secretary, did you want me to answer that? I said, did you want me to answer that? Or? No, I was just going to say that DPW practices very well. They have a very good practice of utilizing all their available resources. So they do have collections in their revolving funds. We still have a lot of collections that have yet to be recorded properly in Munis. And then they also tap into their federal grants. So.
Okay.
And I also, I believe we provided you the running balance of the revolving funds in Munis as of today.
And that is the
one bottom line
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah. But not all of them can be tapped, right? Like the developers in tax.
There are restrictions, there are limitations, but for the most part, they've been in compliance, and DPW is one of the best. I'm saying I'm being biased because I'm their dedicated analyst, but they really are one of the best in practicing living within their means and utilizing all available resources.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, I just have a few questions or a few updates on some of the projects that are going on Rhoda. The San Francisco Highway, is there any update as to when that project is or where that project's at now?
Currently, Radiocom already installed the asphalt plant, and they're just waiting for the one of the parts that when they tested the the equipment, it was burnout, one of the electrical component, and they already communicated with the supplier in China, and I believe it's on the way. It's on the way already. The parts. I just had a communication with Radiocom just last week, and the parts is already on their way. So hopefully they will start again the testing by next week or in 2 weeks. So after that, they're gonna run the asphalt plant, and then if everything is okay, then they're gonna start the construction of the road.
Okay. Thank you. What about any updates on the dump site?
Mr. Chairman, yes. We are working in coordination with the Office of Planning and Development and trying to secure some sites. We are moving parts right now, such as some activities when it comes to waste reduction. There's some site there for the processing of composting. We're still trying to sort out the locations. with the municipality. Right now, there's just so many, I guess, issues that are gonna be made with in regards to the mayor's direction. However, we are moving forward with some of the needs that has to be as far as allocation of the dump site. There is definitely a serious issue there that's got to be. However, the biggest challenges that we see is more of a fish and wildlife issue, and that's always been the case with the RODA operation or the solid waste in RODA. But we just came back from the three municipality to with EPA funded a trip for zero waste. First-hand visits in San Francisco. So those are going to be incorporated as that's kind of the direction right now with both municipalities, Tinian and Rhoda, in where they're heading to reduce the impact of any volume of waste to be landfill. The money's been there, so we're just kind of waiting for the location. We're processing permit on a small scale for specific activities such as again recycling and again green waste area.
Sorry, thank you. And I apologize. Can we just please get an introduction? I'm sorry. I know this wasn't done, and so just so that the members can address the right person.
In baseball, they call it fast break, no? Anyway, to my very left, the young gun is the acting director for the Roads and Grounds Division. And next to him is the director for Solid Waste Blast, I'm sorry, that's Joey Castro. And of course, the finance team headed by Rich Siren. And of course, Peter Kamatsu, the director for admin. On my right side is the building code official and also senior engineer, Gani Salazar. And of course, to his right, Highway Administrator Lorraine Billy Gomez. And of course, last on the right side, the senior engineer, Henry Bautista. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Thank you. Just one last question in regards to Rhoda. Are you guys involved in any of the quarry plans?
Yeah, before we're supposed to have the quarry quarry in Rota, the one in Pali to put that in running, but somehow DPL changed their mind and give it to the private owners. So now the private owners are running the quarry. I think they already started the operation and providing us some materials for road.
But if that's with the private, isn't the grants office? Wasn't there a grant for a pedestal? What was supposed to be for a pedestal crane now for a quarry machinery?
I have no idea about that, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I yield at this time. Members, any other members with questions? I recognize Rep. Staffler.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome DPW team, Secretary, and all of your partners. Thank you for some of the updates. I wanted to just get a few clarifications. You mentioned that there is a master plan and that you have the 10 years and gone up to 20 years. Is that something that's published online for people to review?
We've already closed it.
No, go ahead. Push again. There, it's on.
We've already had it published. It was online. We had virtual for people to participate in it for both Florida, Saipan, and Tinian. So we're now working the final stages of that plan, but it is already done. It's closed. Yes.
So when it's totally done, it will be online again just for people to be able to see it, yeah?
Well, because we don't have a website right now on the Public Works, we can have it available for whoever wants a hard copy. That's fine. Or we can email it.
Okay, thank you. In the earlier budget meeting that we had, we, oh, yes, sorry. In the earlier budget meeting that we had with the Department of Commerce, we were talking about workers' comp and just knowing how much the employees of DPW are out doing very difficult, sometimes dangerous work. I was just wondering, where do you budget workers comp in your budget, because they did mention that it is something that is should be budgeted at the agency level, and so where do you include that in your budget?
For workman's comp, we've never had any budget. Whenever there's what's that, injuries or whatever, that's where they take in. We just never had one since the beginning.
Do you guys have people who get injured once in a while?
Um,
We hadn't had an injury in so many years, but what we do is we have some trainings that we provide to our staff and employees. We recently, like for example, solid waste, because we deal a lot of residential customers bring in a lot of waste like oil. And and they throw a lot of different stuff. So what we did was we came out with not only like disposing of the used oil, but part of that also included in the contract to have an environmental consultant company come up with the proper training to train our staff to make sure that they know the basics of identifying or what markings or labels to look for people that do torn, and if they're not sure how to properly place them, what containers to use, and somewhat we also use OSHA to come in also and train, not only to at least the basic trainings so that they can have a general overview. It has always been DPW's practice is safety first and last. Not only at our, we practice it at home, right, to be safe, and we also tell them to use a lot of the common sense, and if they don't know or they need, then just bring it up so we can be able to address it. But unfortunately we've never budgeted for workman compensation. But I do recall maybe way back, you know I don't know how many years back, when we used to be in Lorbis, I knew that they used to budget for workman comp, but not anymore at some point. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. It does, and I guess
Yeah.
it just makes a point for this body to also consider that if it's not being budgeted at Commerce and it's being expected to be, the responsibility of the agency. Although accidents are never planned, it's good to plan for the accidents. So that should be something to consider maybe in your budget revision. Just luckily you haven't had a need for it, and pray you won't need it.
Yes.
But it just might be something to consider for our people's safety. So thank you. One other question I had related to kind of like regarding the master plan online. It sounds like maybe just because a lot of agencies are moving towards going online, I realize you don't have a website yet. But if you ever do, having a live online project sheet for us or any community member to be able to check out when is this project that was budgeted going to be this or that, or like what status it would be really awesome. And that could be part of the master plan areas too, just throwing it out there. One other update I'd like to ask Mr. Blas Mufnas, if you can tell me about any updates on the Kagman transfer station.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Staffler. Yes, under the design has been completed. As a matter of fact, a recent meeting here on island with EPA representative that had the opportunity to travel here, we did visit those two sites, and they were actually looking at going in, trying to, go towards that direction. Designs are again 100% complete. It's just identifying funds right now with the hopefully with the under the Asada funds, the EPA 56 million grant. That's going to be part of that. Off the bat, I think Andrea about 5 million for both sides, about 2.5 each. So to construct. We're still in the permitting process, right? Good. We're done with Asbono permitting. Kagman. There's a pair of Red Waffler and Morehead. Just done with studies of the campus. So other than that, the design is 100%. Yeah. Yeah, we're also working on the Samba project. It is we have built like 39,000 for one pair of water.
Oh, we love birds. We love them. Thank you for the update. So it sounds like there's still some time to go before there will be a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting. And hopefully the birds will find their way to a new home so we can have a transfer station because it is so important, right? Thank you. I guess my last question, thank you, Chairman. You were talking about the street lights and that funding, and I wanted to ask, did that include or is there existing streetlight maintenance plans, like the timers, for example, for some of the streetlights sometimes seem a little bit long, and is there a maintenance plan as part of today's budget? Because I don't see a lot in operations in general, and so I just wondered how will you cover operations for all the work you guys do with respect to that one example.
Yes, we have this disaster. Outside road, we are going to reconstruct Beach Road. So some of those loops are already in place, and we are with this our master plan. We are looking at doing video sensing. So, our consultant. Yeah.
Thank you. Were you gonna share more?
And just going back on streetlights, DPW in coordination with CUC, because as you know that after the typhoon, a lot of our streetlights were damaged. So they do an annual inventory. CUC, is joined by DPW, and they do an annual inventory for all the streetlights around the island to make sure to see what the total number is, so that when we do receive a billing, we want to compare the actual billing as to compare to how many working, how much are not working. And that's usually that usually happens with on a yearly basis with CUC. Okay.
And the proposed project for Kagman, pathway lights, that's going to be solar power lightings. Yeah.
I know that the community is really looking forward to that because during the typhoon, many of the lights next to Chacha in particular are gone. And so we've been holding off on lights because we know that the pathway lights will fill that gap. So the sooner we get it, the less our community members will be reminding us of that. So thank you for the update. All right. Thank you, Ayod.
Thank you, Rep. Saffler. Rep. Nazama, you had something?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. Once again, it's just some follow-up question. No, you said about the transfer station on both sides, Asgono and Kagman. But we do have the budget because the delay. Are we expecting any increase on the amount and be a change of the amount in the future? Just like what happened on the road, the backside. It started with 21 millions and it went up a little higher. Can you explain that to me if that's going to happen?
Right now, our budget for the two transfer station is 5 million. Yes, you're right. It will increase because of the
the increase of fuel and other even rental rates, and also price escalations of materials.
Thank you, but we'll still be able to handle it, right, when the time comes.
Yeah, we will update that with the ASADRA funding.
Okay.
And
Alright.
we will request that.
So one more question on the streetlights. It is very hard to call CUC and say, we want streetlights on these streets. And I'll give you one example, 34, that's Perdido area, and then the crossroad to Kindoy, it's called Nizuk Street. I drove by there and I made a call to CUC to have streetlights there because it's just too dark. People are using their own power with the bright lights, and you know how the fuel goes up, rises, and those people are paying for those. And they asked me if they can help. I had to go to CUC, but then he turned around and says, go to do the request to DPW. Why can't we make a request to you then, and then tell the CUC to install it? Can we change that? I mean, this is just a concern. Can anybody answer that for me, please? Does anybody understand my question?
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
I think, Congressman, we can revisit that because they're the one that's putting up those streetlights, not us. But again, we can revisit that one. Okay.
My concern is that request. There's too many loopholes. Okay, they asked me now to request it for you because you guys have to pay for that, correct? The streetlights. So when can we just start it from you? You know, that's my concerns. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Bazama. Floor is still open. I recognize Rep. Yaktamai.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome everyone, DPW. Just an update on the road in front of the San Jose Church. It's like taking very long time, and
Yeah, good afternoon. Okay, the current status of the that project is it's kind of hold, by last year because of the HPO, issue. The contractor supposed to get hire archaeologists before they start the digging, and somehow during the digging they found some bones. That's why HPO halted the project, and they need to comply with the requirements. And finally, it took about 6 to 7 months before they comply. And now the contractor is now continuously working for the project.
thank you. Yes, the people needed to hear that because they've been bombarding my office with all their calls because, the hearse, when it leaves the church, it doesn't go straight out. It has to go to another road. But then if it goes straight out, it gets stuck in the gigantic hole over there. Thank you.
And the other issue behind that is, CUC sewer line was, damaged, and we need to before we start the reconstruction of the road, we need to fix first the sewer line. That's why it's kind of delayed also.
Thank you. Another one. The street lights in Faluhula. Do you guys know where Faluhula is? South of the Oliai Elementary School. There's only one street light at the beginning and one at the end. People get lost in the middle. So I understand you said the CUC is in charge of that?
We'll revisit that one, Congresswoman. And I'll go there right after this meeting.
Right. Okay, thank you. Okay, I yield, Chair.
Thank you, Rep. Yaktamai. I recognize Rep. Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess this is a question for, well, I don't know if it would be for Ms. Villagomez. I'm very appreciative of the work that your team has been doing with regard to updating the master plan for highways. But I wanted to ask about the master planning for secondary roads. My last conversation with DPW about this, I understand that there was a master plan that hadn't been updated for more than 15 years. And I guess I just wanted to see if there are any plans to move forward with updating the plan for those secondary roads. Because I mean, like the road that Rep. Danita just mentioned, the roads all over my precinct are in need of repairs. Do you have the capacity and the resources to update that plan?
Okay, thank you. The Highway Master Plan, the 20-year master plan, that's federal designated roads, and that's the one we always upkeep. We will have to start planning for the inner roads, which are local roads, and so that will be on the local site there, and hopefully
Will that be in your division or a different division that would do that?
technical services. Yes.
Technical services,
Yes.
okay. Because as you know, the local delegations especially, we are constantly appropriating for roads within the precincts, right? And they're like little projects here and there, but that adds up to a lot of money. Like, and there isn't really a master plan guiding that, right? And so I guess I'd like to ask you to consider that for this upcoming year. We just passed another appropriations bill, again, for repairing a lot of our village roads. And you know, a plan to prioritize those road projects in the villages would also be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Saban. Floor is still open. Recognize Rep. Pabalta.
Thank you, Chairman Manglonya, and welcome to DPW team. Couple of follow-up questions to projects. One is the Nafton Road, the Route 302 project. What's the status of that right now? And I guess it's directed to Director Villagomez, Lorraine, or whoever can answer.
Good afternoon. I'm going to answer that.
Huh?
Yes. So the Naptan Road, we have the package prepared 8 years ago, and when we revisit when we completed our CATEX, which is the categorical exclusion for environmental permitting, we revisit the estimate, and we are short of 2 million. Now we requested that funding, and we have this transportation implementation plan amendment, which is closed when
I believe
this week. We will be closed it this week. Once approved, we will advertise that Naptan Road.
Okay, is the shortfall due to, I guess you said the plan was ready 8 years ago.
8
Is
years
it to
ago,
the
yes.
increase of prices, or is it something that was unforeseen in the schematics of the road project, or?
It's an increase of prices. You know, the latest unit prices that we received, the current bid result that we have,
Okay.
it increased really high. Yeah.
Okay, and when do you anticipate awarding that project?
Maybe in by September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another follow-up to the secretary. Do you recall a phone call from me several months ago about another road, a secondary road in Aslito, specifically I don't know what the name of the road is. I think it's Pontan Road. Do you promised me an engineering design or cost analysis of that?
In-house design, yeah.
Yes, yes. Any status on that?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Okay. The engineering estimated cost for this project is about 608,000, and so right now, we don't know where get the funding for this, but the Department of Public Works is working on the in-house design for this. Hopefully, we can complete in 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, once the if the right of way is clear and no encroachments, we can expedite the the processing. So once the money, the funding is available,
Okay, where do you hope to get the funding?
that's where the legislature need to come up with the money.
Oh, we fund it. I was just trying to see if you guys were hiding any money from us. But okay, I appreciate receiving that. I think I can wrestle some funds from the members here. Okay, thank you. That's it. I yield.
Thank you, Rep. Babalta. I recognize Vice Chair McLaughlin.
Thank you, Chair. And again, welcome, DPW team. Just real quick for clarification. So I noticed that across the division, there's zero funding for 401k and health insurance premium. Is that the case still? Because I saw that there were actual figures for FY 2021. So are you guys no longer funding that?
If may
Go
I
ahead.
answer? So for the executive branch, 401 and health will be covered by ARPA.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Also, across the division, I noticed that the FICA contribution and the Medicare contribution were reduced by the governor's proposal, and so I was wondering, when the department submitted their budget requests for FICA contribution and medical contribution, was that based on current and existing FTEs or number of positions?
That was based on 100%. All agencies requested 100% allocation. So that includes their current personnel, and maybe they even requested to fund vacant positions. So that number factors
Okay.
all of that.
So based on the department's budget request, the contributions for those that I mentioned were based on current and existing FTEs. Now, under the governor's proposed budget, it actually was reduced by, a significant amount. So is that going to have an impact on? Go ahead.
Because in the governor's proposal, it's reflecting positions, all currently filled positions at only 80%, because the 20% is being covered by ARPA, and then the departments are aware that vacant positions were not funded.
Okay, and that's why I'm clarifying, right? Because based on the reports that we have under the ARPA column, it's zero funded, so it's kind of misleading, and so this is why the clarification. Yeah, thank you. Also under contractual agreements, right? I think under, hang on. So I think this is under 1485. Under contractuals, you submitted a budget of approximately $2.9 million. And according to the governor's budget proposal, it's zero funded. Can you just clarify if these, because some of them are like your rental, right? Your office rental maybe, and some professional services. How are those going to be funded?
Yes, Vice Chair. The professional services are actually those contracts right now for private contractors to operate. Example, the MARPI facility, our pest and rodent controls and such, and even the material recovery facility, as well as our groundwater, leachate, and gas testing contracts. So most of those are the rental. As far as rental's concerned, it's really just I believe probably emergency rentals of equipment when we do have breakdown in our lower base. But other than that, repair, maintenance, but the professional service, the bulk of it is really just our contracts.
Right.
that
So
are
those are existing contracts, right?
Those
And
are existing
normally they
contracts.
fall like you have a span of maybe 2 to 3 years, depending on what the job is.
Yes.
So I guess the concern here is if you guys had submitted a budget of 2.7 million for contracts, but you have zero funded under the governor's proposal, how will that affect the contracts in place?
This is actually being funded through our revolving account, the verification tax and the tipping fee that we collect, as well as supplemented by what we call the reserve account
Okay.
that's required under our, our permit.
Okay, so you have other funding sources to
Yes.
accommodate for those.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Sorry, I forgot to recognize the presence of our floor leader, Rafimo. All right, members, any other questions? Recognize Rep. Yaktamai.
Sorry, I forgot. I would like to ask all of you a question. Do you all know that we have our very own Grand Canyon? Are we looking into the one in Falipi? Just an update.
All right. We have the hazard mitigation project that we just put in place for advertise for the request for a proposal. That will be include the Aspalipi area to all the way to Garapan. So we're going to put some kind of a drainage system to mitigate the flooding and erosion as Palipi and flooding down to Garapan revitalization area.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Rep. Yaktamai. Members, we'll take one more if anyone has anything. It's the last round.
Last round.
Recognize Florence.
Just clarifying question. Maybe this is to OMB and the and how the budget is structured. There's some allocation of 80%, and there's an example here, the building safety at 20%. So I need to understand, is that through federal grants or how is that structured in the budget between the 80% and 20%?
So for I believe you're speaking about Mr. Marcel.
Actually, with the whole building safety code,
They should be 80% general fund, 20% ARPA. You may be looking at volume 4, the ARPA personnel sheets.
under business unit 1471, is it?
1470.
Okay, it's under. Okay, I see it. It's under rescue plan. Okay, so I think that's clarified. Just a question to the secretary with regards to the infrastructure tax. How are we with all these developments going on in the cinema? Is there a projected or up to date collection, because the SNOUD has not appropriated any developer infrastructure tax for each of the respective precincts. Can you get an update on that?
Yes, Congressman, good afternoon. Okay, for developers tax collected from fiscal year 21 to this year, as of February, is only $91,900.50. And then we have the remaining of the fees, like the administrative fees, that's only 90,518. And for all the building permit and inspection fees collected, is more than half a million. It's about 607,891. And the other fees that we charge are demolition, special permit, and the annual certificate of compliance.
So, what's your projection for fiscal year 20? 22, I guess. Three, sorry, 2023. The projection for 2023. I mean, we understand for the past uh, years, it's been averaging about 200 plus thousand per year. So there's no development in the CMI.
No, nothing major so far. So far that we receive as the commercial application comes in. So most of the applicants are just renovation and nothing big projects coming in.
And with regards to the IPI pass that was issued, where are we with collections on those? Are we still going through the courts or some hearing?
So far, I remember last year when I think, as far as you can remember, last year that I brought up about some of the collection, the developer, fees that they haven't paid, like one part of the hotel site. That's one of them. And up to now, yes, there's no payment yet. But in the beginning of the project, it's all paid so far for the developer's tax and yeah,
Okay,
the
thank
building
you.
permit.
And this lastly, with regards to the department, I know it's one of the long-standing issues of, I guess, the Moran. It's one of the oldest uh, divisions. So, is there any issues with the employee morale with regards to, because, yeah, DPW is in charge of, pretty much regulating and then also, working with the private partners out there to see how we can help them better with regards to getting permits out and so forth. So is there any plans with regards to updating DPW's I guess facelift of the how do you say, the not only the pacer but just to beef up everybody, I guess, and beef up the morale, because it's an old department. I mean, most of the people here long been there for a long time. So, I'm just concerned about the employees. Sometimes they need trainings. I know in the past 2 years there's none. Is there any future plans for updating everybody as far as
Yeah, thank you, Congressman. Currently, right now, we have our instructor visitor from Colorado doing a training for our department, and of course, as well as DPW Tinian and DPW Rota. And we're having in another training next week. And yes, we've been sending our engineers, our inspectors for training the past 2 years, but because of the COVID. But we do the morale at DPW is very high, to be honest with you guys. Uh, you see that we're always on the road. So again, the morale is very high. But thank you for asking that.
thank you, Secretary.
All right. Thank you, Floor. Any other members for the last round? Bazama?
I yield back. I just, okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think my last question is for Mr. Camacho. You mentioned about the architects and engineers, and so how many more engineers or architects is the department looking at needing, and what are is it more of a is it I guess what are the recommendations that you can give so that we can help the department in trying to bring in those professionals?
What I would say is that I can't speak on behalf of Anthony Camacho, Director for Technical Services Division, and but from what I'm seeing is that we do need professionals in our area. I know the engineers and architect would probably be for building safety code and the technical services division, and I know TSC has two sides. One is the side where the highway side where they're funded 100%, and then the local side would be where some of our employees or some of our engineers are subsidized 50 local, 50 federal, so that we can be able to work both sides of our TSD program. Um, we've, like I said, we've been very successful in recruiting architects. Hopefully, they do stay and for the long duration. I would just say maybe roughly maybe 4 or 5, but I can't speak as it being a solid number. But maybe for our building code, we have Mr. Salazar. Maybe he can enlighten this body. He is currently an engineer for the local side, and he also works the federal side, and he's also the acting for building safety. Maybe he can give you a more solid number than that, but I'm just talking that based on my experience, and then just to get a feel, I would say maybe 5, maybe more. But I can't put a solid figure on that. But maybe Mr. Salazar can better enlighten this body.
For building code, I think we need one structural engineer, one electrical engineer, and also one mechanical engineer. And for TSD, probably we need two or three civil engineers to work on the local projects.
But based on the pay scale that you've been advertising, is that something that is still attractive, or what would be some of the challenges if we were to allocate those FTEs and trying to get people to come in if we don't have those professionals here already?
I think salary will be the biggest factor. Like I said, we've been advertising for the building safety official at 70,000. I know that Ms. Lorraine from the highway side, we've been able to ask our federal highway to increase the trash. So we've made some adjustments with our current staff so we don't lose them. But I would say that if this body can look at and maybe at least maybe within the range of 100,000 to maybe 120, and make it maybe as competitive as in Guam. Like I said, I've spoken to some of the private engineering firms, and they offer more than what the government offers. So, like I said, if they can up it, that'll really help. But the only way to find out is to start advertising. I know that we've recently recruited um, an engineer for our solid waste, and I believe they're making more than the 70 trash. So salary is always a factor.
But based on your workload and based on the type of work that needs to be done, would it be more efficient to probably contract that out to the private firms, or is it something that DPW would need full-time engineers on board? It's just based on all the workload and all the projects that are going on. It's just something that could be contracted out and support local and go through these agencies, or is it something that the department would need somebody on board full-time?
Based on our needs and discussion with our director from TSD, he would rather have a full-time employee so that they can work on multiple projects. I know that the precinct, they have a lot of projects for each precinct level, inclusive road and TNN, and we also have projects on our federal highway side. As opposed to going to a private A&E firm, you every time, depending on the type of project and how huge it is, they may charge more than what we would pay for to have an in-house engineer and work with them personally. Thank you.
Thank you for that. One follow-up question, and then we'll close out.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me. I noticed the DPW does not request any request for new equipment, and our mayor has constantly come up here and asked for equipment. Is there a reason why the department has not requested for any new equipment from this body?
If I recall, I did submit some last year during the wish list that I submitted last year. And I want to be thankful again for those 10 FTs that were given to the department. But I did submit my which is last year.
But we don't have.
Thank you. Just so we know, because I guess SNOW has given so much, and DPW is part of the the cleaning up of the CNMI, and I understand the equipments are owed too. So to submit those requests again so that we can address that. It's
Just for your information, Congressman, I did submit personally to the SNIO.
So SNIO, not the committee. But even so, House Bill 2233 did not pass. So we could have addressed it there. Mr. Camacho, yes, you had something?
Just to add on, I know that there's a lot of agency and a lot of needs, but just to share with this body that whatever we don't get, we try our best to go after funding from other sources. We were able to secure equipment through EPI's office, grants office. We were able to secure some equipments from our road maintenance account and stuff. So we try to whatever we can get from here, we try to find other ways to be creative in getting those, because in the end of the day we're gonna need those equipments to do our work and work efficiently. But it'd be nice to have funding so that we can go after, especially if you guys appropriate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Sorry, I just want to get clarification. Ms. Pua, you are the assigned OMB for this agency?
Yes, I am. I'm the dedicated analyst. So-
Perfect. So, with that, with everything that we've heard today, I just want to commend DPW. This is probably one of the first times I heard that this agency really works within their means and tries to conserve as well as be proactive in seeking funds elsewhere. But it's also an added bonus that you have the acting let's say for OMB as your dedicated analyst. And so if there's anything that wasn't addressed here, it could be addressed by July 1st in the revised budget submission.
I don't want to take any credit because it's actually their office. They're so proactive. I get weekly emails, calls, text messages. Can you help us? Can you do projections? So it really takes that effort from the agency too. So to help make my work easier, to help us find money for them. So yeah, it's all
Thank you.
great job,
Thank you for
DPW.
that. And thank you, Secretary, and to your team. If there's anything else that we would like to get clarification on, we'll reach out to your office. But at this time, thank you for bringing in your entire team, and we appreciate your presence here today to answer the questions from the members. And so with that, if there's anything that you would like to say in closing, or is that?
Yes, again, on behalf of our department and of course the division directors and staff and the support staff, we are honored again and happy to join you guys, your team, this afternoon for this hearing, and looking forward again for more communication in regards. And again, on behalf of the department, thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you again, Secretary Ada. At this time, you are excused. Members, any announcements? All right. If none, we have the NMC and NMTI next Tuesday, and then we'll get the analysis sent out by tomorrow, hopefully.
All right.
All right. If there's no announcements, can I get a motion for adjournment? Motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned at 2:24 p.m.